All right, welcome to a new episode of the Opening Bid Unfiltered podcast here at the NASDAQ in Times Square. Like I always say, this podcast will make you a smarter investor, and you're gonna get a lot smarter on all things retail, luxury retail, and just, this is an episode right in my wheelhouse, so I'm excited to talk about this. Mackage CEO Tanya Golesic is in the Opening Bid Unfiltered house. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
How did I get you away from planning for the holidays?
A lot of bribing. No, no, I'm excited to be here, and it's obviously a crazy busy time, but I'm in the heart of Times Square, so what's better than that, right?
I want to go into your career. You spent Jimmy Choo, Michael Kors, Ralph Lauren. I mean, you've done pretty much everything in retail. I told you before this, I was a former retail analyst. Mm-hmm. I was upset with myself because I never heard of Mackage up until a couple of years ago. Why is that the case? I think what you guys make is mind-blowing. It really is high quality stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Well, that was actually part of the reason that I joined Mackage in this role. I grew up in Canada, and Mackage, obviously a Canadian brand from Montreal. So our heritage is there, our roots are there. We know how to make outerwear. So I've been following the brand for probably 20 years now. And over the years, the one thing I think that you and I spoke about earlier is that you walk into a store and you try on the product and you see the quality and the craftsmanship, which is amazing. But the one thing that was lacking, and this is and I say this a lot as a Canadian, us Canadians are not necessarily great at, puffing up our chests and telling our story, right? So I felt like this was such an opportunity to have product that, Mackage was making at the time, and having the opportunity to be able to tell this story and bring Mackage to the world, essentially. So that's why I joined as CEO 4.5 years ago now, and that's something
that's been 4.5 years?
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I still remember when it was announced.
Yeah.
How is it like going from, these powerhouse, these beasts of a company, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Ralph Lauren, Jimmy Choo, to a smaller outfit like this, and then trying to grow it, it has a heritage. It wasn't founded overnight, 1999?
Correct, right? Yeah. Totally, it's a total shift in terms of your thought process, and that for me is what really motivates me, because yes, I've worked for some of the best and I've learned from some of the best, i.e. Ralph Lauren, LVMH, Marc Jacobs. So I think when I started my career, I was really able to hone the skills of how to build a brand, and I learned, to your point, from these other amazing brands. So having the challenge of being in a luxury space and telling the story of a luxury brand and growing a brand is really exciting for me. And so that is everything, right? That's not only marketing and PR, that's also product. And really being able to tell that story 12 months a year versus just, 6 months a year. And that's what the brand was when I joined. How
do you build a brand in this environment?
Well, I think it goes back to our original point. You have to have the product, right? You can market, you can have the best PR, the best marketing in the world, but then when the consumer comes to the store or purchases the product and then sees that the product isn't what they thought it was, that's, first of all, a huge disappointment, right? So knowing that I had that as my foundation was a very powerful thing, right? That was the last thing I needed to worry about. So I think, just having the opportunity to have this amazing product and build a story with, different celebrities, different athletes, different friends of the brand, and really amplifying it globally. I think that was really how we got to where we are today. And there's been a lot of focus on product. I brought in a new head of design in about 2.5 years ago who came from the couture world. Mm-hmm. And you may say, why would you bring someone from the couture world? And the answer to that question is, we already have a really great team in Montreal who understands function. So Mackage isn't only fashion, it's also function, right? So when it comes to seam sealing or cold protection or wind protection, I had that. But I didn't have the other piece, was, taking this product to the next level, increasing our average unit retail. So, yes, of course, we still make our entries about $850 right now, but we've stretched to about $3,500. And we're finding today that our actually best-selling price point today is between $1,500 and $2,500.
What are the consumers coming to you for? What are some of your iconic pieces? And then as you look to next year, where else do you think this brand can play?
So our iconic pieces, I would tell you, and it's no different than other brands that we've mentioned, is definitely our core. So our Adali, which is, has been one of our iconic pieces since for at least 10 years now, with the shawl collar coat that we have for women's. And then the Dixon and the Edward are our other two core styles. Those styles are still alive and well. We have also revised those styles because in a world where, people either prefer to wear no fur or prefer to wear shearling, we've tweaked those styles with those types of product categories, right? So core still is a very healthy part of our business, but what was important for this brand, in my opinion, because we've seen other outerwear brands be only outerwear, which means you have to rely on the cold, which isn't realistic either. So the shoulder seasons are really where we've continued to expand. And what most people don't know is that the heritage of Mackage was actually built on leather, wool, cashmere. So we went back into, the archives and into our heritage where we really excel. And those are product categories that you can wear basically 12 months a year. We continue to expand our athleisure, which is, we call it ready to wear, but it is athleisure in luxury fabrications. And we will launch footwear in spring of 2026.
Wow, footwear.
Yeah.
What is it like trying to launch a footwear brand?
Well, coming from Jimmy Choo,
Yeah.
it's actually not bad.
This is old hat for you. Like, you're good.
Yeah.
I got this. This is nothing.
So it's exciting because we did actually do a small launch in 2020, actually 2019, 2020, of boots only. Highly successful. We have an iconic boot called the Hero, and is lined in shearling. But the next piece of the puzzle in terms of how we expand into categories that are lifestyle categories is really what we do with spring. So we will launch a sneaker, and we will launch other footwear that relates back to the Mackage aesthetic, right? So yes, it has to be great footwear, it also has to be functional too, right? So there will be elements of both, so that when our clients come to the store or on our e-commerce site, that they're able to wear head-to-toe Mackage. And we do have a lot of people asking us for footwear, so we're excited about that.
Are you opening up your own retail stores?
Today we have 20 retail stores. So the US, Canada, China, Japan, Paris flagship. Next year we're planning to open a London flagship, as well as a store in Chicago. We're also looking at St. Moritz. We have an opportunity in St. Moritz where Switzerland is actually a very, very good region for us. So that's what's on our radar immediately, but we will continue to expand in Asia as well as Europe.
Are you still a believer in the flagship store? I always think flagship, and I think about, doesn't necessarily apply to y'all, but Abercrombie, like way back when they opened these giant multi-level stores, and that was a flagship. And does that still work? Is it like part marketing, I guess, part,
Yes.
of course, place to sell your product too?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because so many people are confused by the flagship, because it can mean so many different things, right? So for us today, our flagship is Paris. We have a flagship in Soho. Flagship for me is really about more of a tier, an A tier of store versus, a B or C level store. It doesn't mean it has to be, 30,000 square feet. It means it has to be in a hub. So New York, Paris, Tokyo. And so it also depends on where you're opening. Like, if what we tend to do and what we're most successful with is we look for locations that are in high trafficked areas, right? So you're not necessarily going to go into into Greenwich Village, for example. Yes, it's cool and it's amazing, but you don't have the traffic. So we still, as a young brand, need the traffic to drive that. But in Paris, we opened on Saint Honoré, obviously a huge luxury destination. In London, we're looking at New Bond Street right now. So, but we also have to balance that with Chicago. And in Chicago, we won't go to Oak Street, for example, right? Because yes, it's a luxury street, but there's not a lot of traffic there. So we're looking at other areas in Chicago right now.
Does the department store still have a place in retailing?
100% it does. And I feel like this question has been asked for the last 20 years.
Oh, I remember the zombie mall apocalypse,
Yeah.
and you see these stories floating around out
Yes.
there. I'm like, look, I mean, the A malls, they're still going to work, I
100%.
think. They make sense,
Yes.
at least to me, and hopefully it sounds like to you too.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's funny that you asked that question. We're looking at South Coast Plaza as we speak, which is a premier mall in the U.S. And again, it goes back to what they're offering, right, in terms of what are people looking for in more suburban areas, right? I mean, I think because we live in New York, we all say, oh, no, we don't go to a mall. Well, we don't really have malls.
I'm at Roosevelt Field like every
There you go.
weekend.
Okay, thank you.
I love Roosevelt Field.
Exactly, but it's just part of the U.S. and Canada. It's part of what we do, right? We see that in Montreal with the new mall that opened, Royal Mount, which has been a huge success for us. So definitely there is a place for wholesale. What I will say is that since I've joined the company, we've really culled back the number of doors we're in. So it's about it's like the 80-20, right? It's focusing on those top doors that drive 80% of the volume and really making a presentation and not just having a four-way with no one working there. It's really partnering with retailers to make sure that we have a staffed area, that we have, you know, a shop-in-shop environment that people can see the brand properly.
Hang with us, Tanya. We're going to go off for a quick break. We'll be right back on Opening Bid Unfiltered. All right, welcome back to Opening Bid Unfiltered here at the NASDAQ in Times Square, talking all things retail with Mackage CEO Tanya Golesic. What I've seen, let me just go real quick, actually go back to the department store. When I go into the department store, even the A malls, why can't I find anyone to help me? I need help. I need help, and I can't find it. Like, what's going on out there?
I think the answer to that question is, I think that because wholesale has been challenged, I think the first thing people do is cut back, right, on staffing. Obviously, during the holidays, you'll probably see more because they bring in temp help. But what we really believe in is partnering with the wholesalers to have that shop-in-shop environment, but to also staff it. So whether we're paying for it or we're sharing the cost of it, you have to have people to tell the story, and you have to have people to show them why, right? Why your product is so much better than A, B, or C brand. So I think investing in people for me is number one. Same thing internally for us and the people that we invest in. It's the same thing for the wholesalers as well. And hopefully we'll get to that point again. But I think these stores are just so big and there's so much product and there's just so much going on that, you know, I think they're going to have to pull back before they continue to invest, if that makes sense.
Yes, so I knew we were talking, so I went into Roosevelt Field.
Yeah.
I go into Nordstrom, and there's your product on the rack, and I go to try it on, and it was locked up. I'm like, good, it should be locked up. Why, like, does theft concern you? Like, I've seen these videos, people are bum rushing into malls, just leaving with bags of stuff for free. I've been doing this for a while. I've never seen anything like this before, ever.
It's huge for us, especially in New York City, Madison Avenue, Soho. When we get into these months now, you know, obviously we have security guards, but you know, there's times where we're hit twice a week, 3 times a week.
Twice a week?
Yeah, it's really, and we don't lock up our product in our own stores. And I understand obviously why the wholesale accounts have to. And to your point, you know, if you don't have people on the floor who can monitor this or have security guards, it's a really, really big challenge. And listen, we see it in New York. I mean, it's so frustrating. You go to Duane Reade or Walgreens and you can't buy deodorant because everything's locked up. So absolutely, if that's what's happening today in Walgreens, you can imagine, I'm sure it's not just Mackage. I'm sure there's other luxury brands that are, you know, seeing a lot of this happen.
Are you talking folks just come in and grab a pair of gloves?
Oh, no.
Or they're just
clear out a whole rack. There's usually 2 or 3 people and they'll clear out 1 or 2 racks, absolutely, and walk out. And then that's with the security guard, just so that you know, that's with the security guard. And, you know, you cannot put your teams in the stores in danger, right? You're not going to have someone run up and stop them because you don't know if you know, it could.
There's really no way to prevent any of this
There's
stuff.
no way.
It just happens.
It happens, and it's not great, but it happens, yeah.
One thing I want to ask you about too is the quality of product. So I still remember going to retail stores. I just love touching and feeling product. It's still in my soul. It's what I do. It's actually how I used to help build spreadsheet models, but whatever it is, I still like doing it. And the quality of merchandise this year in retail has gone down the tubes, in my opinion, whether it's hardware on handbags, hardware on shoes. What is this because of tariffs that products are being redesigned to cheaper locations?
I believe that's part of it. I believe that for sure tariffs played a role. And I mean, we were really lucky. We have an amazing COO and head of production who helped us basically move all of our production. We moved everything out of China. I mean, we weren't only in China, but we had China, we had Europe as well. So we put more in Europe and we moved some to Vietnam. And but our core focus was not to cut on any type of craftsmanship, any type of detail. So, with margins, and there's a lot of people who work on super lean margins, and I think this was one of the only ways. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a billion plus company, a $5 billion company, and you're making handbags at $100, where are you cutting, right? Where your margins are not so healthy, and then you get hit with the tariffs, and I'm assuming that's exactly where it had to go, right? It had to go into trims and leathers and things like that.
And once you go down that route of cutting quality, you don't go back.
No, because you disappoint the customer right away, right? That's who you're disappointing, is your clientele, and they come in to buy something and they know that what they bought 2 years before is now, the new product is half as good, right? So that's something that we're very firm on, and if we're not able to make it and we can't increase the price to a point where it makes sense for our consumer, then we just don't do it.
How is it like to move a supply chain?
It's crazy. It's insane. And it's you know what it is? It's a blessing in disguise, because it's all of these life lessons we learn that we haven't had to learn in the past, and then you're forced to learn very quickly. I think our executive team is highly experienced and has come from a lot of larger brands. So it was a lot of grunt work and a lot of trips around the world, but it paid off. Thank God.
Where are you done moving supply chain?
Yes.
That is done and dusted?
Yes.
And is it tough to move supply chain out of China? I mean, the experience there is immense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot, the people, so like I said, we're partially Europe, partially Asia. And so our factories, we have great partners, and the factories that we worked with in China actually opened factories for us in Vietnam.
Wow.
So they were able to move quickly too. And it was really a blessing in disguise, like I said, that this happened. And, there's other countries as well that we're exploring to see if it could be something, because to your point, the craftsmanship and the quality, that's not something that we are willing to compromise on. So we need to make sure, and it takes time, right? Especially in outerwear, you can't just learn how to make a coat overnight. So we work very closely, our production team, with factories and doing tests to make sure that, it's something that we're happy with before we even move to another factory.
Where did your drive come from in your career? We probably don't have enough time to talk about it. But.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting question, because people ask me this. My drive came from my parents. My parents grew up in the former Yugoslavia in Croatia. They lived in a communist country, and they did not want to live in communism and decided to get up and move. And at that time in Yugoslavia, you were allowed to go to Canada or go to Australia. They chose the cold, which I guess works for me well now. And then I grew up in Canada with immigrant parents, and I knew that I wanted to work in fashion. My mother was a retailer, and no disrespect to Canada, but it was way too small, and there's not really necessarily a huge fashion industry there. So I moved to New York in 2001 and have continued just down this path, which is amazing, and love New York and love the US. And that's where I think my drive just comes from that mentality, that immigrant mentality. Yes, my immigration is from Canada, but it is. But my parents, and just always wanting to do more and do better and show the world that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
For those that have a similar upbringing to you, what advice could you give to them if they want to have a job like yours at some point?
I just spoke at FIT and they asked me the same question, and my answer is really boring, but it's very true. And it's especially with the new generations that are coming up. I have a 14-year-old daughter. If you can outwork people, the world is your oyster, period. I don't need to see your Harvard MBA. I don't need to see, your PhD. I need to see that you're going to work, and that you're not going to walk in on day one and tell me that something's not your job or that something's beneath you. And I think that has been my approach since day one. And I think that's how you get promoted. I think people see that you're willing to give it all. I think when you're passionate also, with hard work, and I know that seems very boring and very basic, but I think it really goes a long way.
To bring that up here, I was actually thinking about this the other day because I was talking to my dad, and I remember he told me that when I was like 12 or 13, and I didn't get it then, but as I have gotten older, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
Where are you, when you're on here, where are you at in 10 years?
Where am I at? Well, Mackage is a $4 billion company, and either we've gone public or we're the leaders in this industry of outerwear. Or I have done that in 2 years, and I've moved on to another brand to do something similar. I love what I do. Like I love telling brand stories. I love having product and designing product and working with designers to have the product that people want. I love seeing increases that are double and triple digits like we're seeing today, which are mind-blowing. So yeah, just to continue this journey, and maybe with a bigger brand, maybe with a different type of brand, maybe not in fashion, maybe it's in another world, but I love doing this. I love storytelling.
You're a rock star.
Thank you.
If y'all are watching this out there, request her on LinkedIn, please, because like she's just like doing a lot right. It's been fun following your story. Mackage CEO Tanya Golesic. Don't be a stranger, okay?
Thank you so much, Brian.
All right, that's it for the latest episode of Opening Bid Unfiltered. Continue to hit us with all that love on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. I really appreciate it. It makes me better at doing these interviews. Talk to you soon.